Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs on the YouTube. Dave here in the garage, Area 51 again. So today, last bit of electrical stuff, I hope. And then, yeah, that's that done. So plan for today is to kind of put some central locking in this. Now it's more just to lock and unlock the doors, and the system I've got has got a provision for a boot release as well, so that's kind of what drew me to it. And the other reason was I don't have matching door handles and stuff, and I know you can get them rekeyed and stuff like that, and I have inquired about that with some of the local locksmithy type people, and they say no, we can't get the parts for those anymore, like they're too old. So it's like, yeah, so which is a bit of a pain because I've got 3 door handles with this car and they all take different keys. So otherwise I would have just, kind of tried to get a matching pair, and I would have just done normal door locks and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of my plan today. So I bought a little kit off, I don't know where I got it from, Temu or Wish or something like that. Well, 2 kits actually. One's the actuators and one's the little brain part of it. So let's have a look and see what we've got to do with it. As you can see, I've already been rummaging through it, trying to kind of make some sense of it. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of clarify that today. You might notice that the 51 is up off the ground. It's actually stayed up overnight. Yesterday I did the last video, which was getting the gauge and stuff installed on the old for the air ride and things like that. And I did notice when I was had been adjusting the ride height and playing around with the air ride, testing and things like that, sometimes the valve manifold doesn't completely seal, like when it shuts. You do a pulse down and you'll still hear this kind of faint hissing. You give it another little pulse and it shuts it, like it seals it properly. So it might just be one of those things we're going to have to live with, or it might be something that once it gets a bit more use, it might kind of like self-heal. So that's where we're at with that. So I'm quite happy that it's still up on all 4 corners after a day or a night. Probably not a full day, but yeah. So anyway, let's go and have a look at this. Might need my spectacles for this though. Okay, so this is the main brain kit that I've got. We'll start in here and have a look. It's come with that little brain and its little wiring harness, which I've already been kind of playing around with. A little LED. Don't know that I'll put that in. It might be optional. A couple of remotes. And a couple of these little round things, which I'm not 100% sure. They look like the sort of thing for holding batteries and that in, but they were in the bag, so I'm suspecting, being that I can't see any little lights flashing, that there's no batteries in this thing. So I might open one up to start with and just check to see if there's any batteries in there. That little Phillips screwdriver. Got my eyes on so I can see. Yeah, as suspected, no batteries in there, so that's a bit stink. Okay, so that's, I'm gonna go and see. I don't even know what sort of batteries it takes. It doesn't actually say in the anything about it in the instructions. It'll just be one of those little round jobbies. If I got any, all just different languages. Doesn't really say, it's all about the wiring and operation. Doesn't say nothing about batteries. So I've got to go and see if we've got any batteries here. If not, I might have to shoot down the road and see if I can pick some up. Figures, eh? Alright, so I knew I'd seen a couple of these up, or at least one upstairs. And I don't know if they're the right size or not, but tear into it and have a look, see. Troll-proof packaging. Oh man, how are you supposed to do this? Okay, so it's, the plastic's double layered. Yeah. What's the point of having a little pop out thing on the back if you can't pop it out on the back? Alright, so does that just go in there like that? That might be what. That doesn't really work, does it? Okay, so don't know if that's the right sort. Oh, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so tried this other one and it was thicker, so that works. So yeah, so if you see the little red light flashing, yeah, so that works. But now there's nothing written on here to tell me what sort it was, so I'll need to get another one, you see. But yeah, that's alright. I wonder if I should take it back out and just write down what it actually is. It doesn't really come out terribly easy. If I can get it out far enough, I can get the number off it. Oh, it's a CR2032. Where's the pen? 2. That's what I need. Right, keep that. Put that back in there. I'll just put this back together and then we'll have a look. Okay, so the other part of the equation is I've got a couple of these, just universal generic actuators. They come with the actuator, the rod, and one of them little brackety things, a couple of screws, and the that little doodad which you kind of use to hook on to the original rod in the door, if you know what I mean. This is going to be a bit tricky in the 51 because that rod's only like that long, whereas I've done them in the past. I did these actuators in my C10 and that had a long door lock rod, so there was kind of heaps of scope to install them, if you know what I mean. I was kind of wondering how whether I'd need to run relays and stuff, and according to this paperwork, the central locking output is 10 amps, so it actually outputs 10 amps from there, which I actually thought was quite a lot considering, you know, it's just little pins and stuff. So I was kind of wondering how much these draw, and so I just did a little bit of Googling, and it's anywhere from 1.6 to 6 amps. So I'm going to install these without relays. Just for simplicity. I didn't do it the last time I did one of these, which was a long time ago, and it was probably, to be fair, a much better setup. I think, but it worked fine, and it didn't pop fuses or burn things out. So I'm going to try it without relays. If it burns it out, I have got very little money in this. This was literally, I bought it a little while ago, so I'm thinking it was, off the top of my head, it was probably under $30 sort of thing for this little unit, and then these were only, I think they were under $10 each sort of thing. You know, so it's a cheap little upgrade. Hopefully it doesn't cost me anything by setting fire to the car or anything like that. But yeah, so that's the plan. So I've got my little instructions, which are kind of vague. It actually came with 2 lots of instructions. One's just kind of written on how to use, and this has got a bit more on how to wire it. It's got a diagram at the back there telling you what's what. So I mean, it's got your signal wires for your actuators. It's got a wire that can feed out to your park lights to make them flash, which I'm not going to hook up. Power window output, so you know, when you lock the car it rolls the windows up. I think that's what that's for. And the trunk release, and then you've got your your grounds and your 12 volt full time voltage, and then there's another park light wire as well. Why is there 2 park light wires? That's weird. And there's one that goes out to your horn, so you can have it chirp your horn if you want. And then you've got your little like little LED that you can mount in the dash somewhere if you so see fit, so you have that little flashing thing at night and scares away the baddies. But there's also this little panel in the instructions which talks about, you know, what your car's already equipped with. Like it assumes that you've already got actuators in your car and you're just kind of replacing the system, or like in the instance with our old high ace outside, when you unlock the door, it unlocks all the doors and stuff like that. So I could in theory put one of these into that high ace and unlock the doors off the key, off a button, I think, maybe, because it's got actuators in there. You know what I'm saying? No, like, anyway, enough about that. But I've been reading through this little panel here and all the little kind of examples, and this little box here is the example which I think is closest to what I'm doing. It says, when the car is originally equipped with central locking system, the door is in and the DEVA's door, this is Chinese stuff, is installed with only one switch, then a 2-wire actuator will be installed. 2-wire actuator. And could be based on the diagram below. So it basically tells you, you know, which wires you're going to use out of here and which ones you're going to kind of join together and which ones are, you know, redundant sort of thing. So I've got to go back through this and figure out what it's all about, what I've done with it. But yeah, we'll have a look at that. Obvious ones are these two here, this black and that red. So that's my ground, and then my 12 volts, and then according to this paperwork, my trunk release is this one here. Where did I find that? Trunk release, green and black, so that's one I want to use. Purple is the siren, which I'm not going to use. And what's that grey next to it? That's park lights, so not going to use that. There's a red trunk release, and then the blue black is the power window output. Not going to use that. What's next to that? There's a grey one next to that. It's park lights. Don't think I'll use that, but I'll put it out the way for now. And then we get into yellow, black. They're all the sort of signal wires. So these ones here, I'm just going to kind of coil them up and get them out the way for now. Probably put a little bit of something over the ends of them or whatever, or de-pin them completely. Okay, so hopefully this will focus. That's that little box I'm going through there. And so I mean, it's showing me the rest of the wires there, my opening signal and closing signal. So my opening signal is the yellow green and my closing is the black white. So I want to pull those out the way. Yellow green is that one, and black white. So they're my two signal wires. So I might just kind of tie them together a little bit, they're going to get paired off to my actuators, and that's a point. The actuator, there'll be two of them actuating at the same time. Maybe I should have a relays on there, I don't know. And now it's got grounded, so I'll have to add, it's got two grounds out of those, so the green grey is grounded, which is that one there. Is that grey on there? Or is that just green? It must be grey. Oh yeah, there is a little grey stripe. That's a bit hard to see. And then there's another one which is grounded, which is I think orange white, which is that one there. Green, grey and orange white. And so they will go to I'll get tied in with that. And that should, in theory, for my positives, it should be orange, grey, and yellow, black. So that's those there. And so they will get tied in to that. So it was yellow, black, and orange, grey, yeah. So they will all go to 12 volts. They will be my signal wires, and then these will all be grounds. And then that'll be my trunk release, which I'll hook into my trunk release switch, which I have on the dash, I think. I'm not sure if I've got wire that I can use for that. Okay, so in the car, I'm just going to put this on the keys just so I know where it is at any one time. So that's where it'll end up. I've got to find somewhere to mount this box, I guess, because that wire that coming out of it, that's the antenna. So it needs to be somewhere, I guess, where it doesn't have too much other, you know, steel or stuff kind of blocking its range or reception. So there's not really much in the way of options for mounting other than a little tab there you can whip a cable tie through. So I thought about just mounting it up in there and just like cable tying it to the harness there. If it becomes problematic, it's still kind of accessible to kind of relieve it from the car. So with that being said, I can then figure out, you know, how much other wiring and that I have to do to add to this lot. I can probably get a ground in down here somewhere, maybe. I think I can put a 6mm bolt on there and ground it. There's a threaded bolt there. As far as running 12-volt battery, I can just extend that wire across to the fuse block, and then that's that. And then extend the wire to my trunk release, and yeah, then I have to run wires into the doors, which is the kind of tricky part. I want to decide whether I can run wires through here, at least initially, just to make sure this is all going to work before I go drilling any extra holes in the door jambs and stuff, you know. I know some people get those freaky little kind of connector things, but that means that things only work when the doors are shut. Okay, so got a bit of a plan. Alright, pull that off of there. Got one of my little eyelets. I just throw that over there because I've got a ton of rubbish over there to clean up. And I'm just going to strip these back and kind of splice them all together. Give them a twist. So it's all my grounds. Actually, this. Oh, got some heat shrink there just to make it look professional. Will this do this one? Don't know that it will actually. No, I might need my other crimps. Here somewhere, I think. Yeah, there's me. Ooh, need a bit more oomph for that. This haven't actually turned out to be that good. I might have to, well, I'm nearly done with the auto electrical on this, but if I ever do another one, I might end up buying another better set of crimps, you know. Put a heat on the old heat shrink. That's my grounds done. Okay, so next I've got to extend my 12-volt constant and also my trunk release wires. So I'm actually going to solder those like you probably should. Tie all these together. I might as well strip that one on while I'm here. And I'll strip the ends of these. I've got a red wire and a green wire to, you know, keep it colour's going in the right way. I do have the wrong one, tendency to kind of, if I haven't got the right colour, just join another colour on, and that's not really the best practice, if you know what I mean. If you've got red going and green going or whatever, you should probably try and carry it on if you've got the means to do so, you know. If you're in an absolute jam, then yeah, you can just use what you got, you know. Know what I'm saying? Is this heating up yet? Oh, yeah, there we go. You can tin these up. Don't let me forget the heat shrink. Oh, it's a little bit thicker. Might take a little bit more heat. Tin it through properly. Alright. Need a hook. Hang that on. Need some heat shrink. Get some red for the red. Is that going to go over there? Is that too small? Put it there, might be better. And then just got to solder this down here. Get a little bit of fresh solder on there. Just cool it off. Check it. Yep. And I get my green wire. Put that under there. Do it again. The next one. Some fresh solder on it, just for good measure. Oh, I didn't get any heat shrink on there, but that's alright. I can still slide it. Probably should unplug that. I remember. Unplug. I'll get a little bit of black heat shrink on that one, I reckon. And this one. Not too much carbon on there. So what else we got? So that's my signal wires, grounds, 12 volts, trunk release. Should be good. I don't know if I've got enough wire to get out to the doors though. I might have to go and buy some wire. Okay, so before I can kind of really go any further, I've got to go and get some more wire. I thought I was going to have enough with that, but no. So that's short by about a metre. So I need to go and get some more. I'll get some green and some blue, hopefully. Just some 7.5 amp, whatever gauge that is. 18 gauge. And I'll see if I can get the right size plugs for there too, just the little sockets like that. Got those ones, but they're a little bit too big, so I need the next size down. So they're 5mm, so I'm probably wanting 4 or 3 or something. But yeah, so that's where I've stalled out at the moment. I've got to go and get some stuff because I wasn't really very well prepared for this little exercise. I thought I was, but I didn't even think about running wire out to the doors and all that kind of stuff. So I'll go and do that, get that stuff. Might even try and remember to get a CR 30, whatever it was. Is that right there? CR 2032. CR 2032. I should write that down. Okay, so back. And got some lunch as well while I was out. Got some of these little things. Just got to make sure they're the right size. Yep, they'll work. That's good. Not wasting money on that. Got a couple little reels of wire and another battery for the old other remote. So what are we going to do? I'm going to test this outside of the car, you know, just off the battery. So I'm going to kind of create my, well, kind of half of what I'm going to do, I guess, so I can actually hook it up and make sure it is all going to work other than the trunk release, I think I can do at the front of the car, you know what I'm saying? So, actually I'll put that away now, so I'm not going to use that one. So here, what was I saying? Yeah, so I've got to get some more kind of fittings and stuff like that, not fittings, like little plugs to hook up the green and blue wires to my signal wires and see if I can kind of figure that stuff out. The instructions or the information that comes with the actuators says, yes, I read something earlier, it just says blue wiring cable to negative pole, green cable to positive pole. So, but what I think the little black box does is it changes the poles, like with the open closed thing, so it switches the polarity. So, you know, normally if you put these to a battery, you know, put the blue to the positive, green to the ground, and it'll pull it one way, and then if you pulse it the other way, it'll switch them over. So green to positive, it'll kind of pulse it the other way, sort of thing. That's how I think it works. Hopefully, it's kind of what I was thinking when I did my trunk release. But yeah, so I just got to get some stuff together and unravel all of that, and yeah, start getting this so I can test it. So these little rolls are 7 meters, so pretty much going to use the whole lot. So I'm going to start kind of tying it together as I unroll them, so hopefully it doesn't turn into a big ball of spaghetti. And then I'll cut it in half, because I'm going to put spade terminals at the control box end, the harness end, so I can hopefully, rather than soldering it and hard wiring it sort of thing at this point, I want to be able to kind of unplug them and replug them in sort of thing once I've figured out which wire does what out of my signal wires, out of my little black box, you know what I'm saying? So we have 3.5 meters in each direction, because this is going to be mounted pretty much centrally inside the vehicle, you know what I'm saying? Gonna be right. Oh, I don't know if anyone's even noticed this sitting on the bench. This is the drain tube that goes in before the rear windows go in, which I forgot to do because I broke it and I kept meaning to fix it, and then I forgot all about it because it was buried out the back room. And yeah, I put all the glass and that in, and now I've got to take glass out of one side and put that little drain tube back in. So, not ideal, but yeah, I'll see if I can kind of wriggle it in without it, but I don't know that I'll be able to. I haven't had a proper look yet. It's been sitting up there for about a month now because I fixed it. I glued it all back together. Going to tear off very nicely. There we go. So now, split this in half. Just like that. Okay, so I've got to strip these back. And same on the other end. Two of them. Do it for those. Now, green to green. I'm going to put the spade on that side. I'll just trim them down a little bit. Spade. Crimp that. Now I need these two. Did I just cut half the wire on that? Oh, I'll do that again. Put the female end on this end. Are we still allowed to say that? Kind of female plugs and male plugs? Very gender neutral nowadays. Alright, so expose a bit of wire in this for now. I can get the right size hole. Come on, oh god. Alright, so that's that. I need the other end of these. Expose these so I can plug my actuators into them. And then we'll go over to the car and have a little play. Alright, let's go. Alright, I need my little box, my keys, my thing on, the remote. Okay, so I'm just going to hook it up to the battery initially. Where does it plug in? That way? Oh yeah. Okay, so somewhere safe. Let's see, sit that there. Now I've got my this thing here. I'm going to plug into those two wires. I don't know what order yet. Just any order to start with, I guess. What is that? Ah. Why does everything have to fight you? This little plug. No, that one. It's kind of crooked inside the little housing. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay, got my two actuators, or my wires for my actuators. Jam them in there for now. Might have to tape them or something. No, I'll just jam them in for now. Alright, so now I need to hook up to the battery. One for the ground, one for the positive. Okay, so see if it does anything. It might need to do a learning thing. I think it might need to learn. There's a button on there for that little button right there. You got to do some learning with it. So I'll have a bit of a look see about that. Okay, so I haven't got really any further other than I've kind of hooked that up, so I am getting a power through the system, and that little pulse there is like the pulse that would go to the park lights. So, and that button I pressed to get it to do that, that's the learning button, so to get it to learn the remotes. And so I've been going through that thinking, oh, maybe the remotes weren't that learned, if you know what I mean. But it still doesn't work. So I've been looking again at this little box of little tiny microscopic print and stuff like that, trying to figure out whether one of those installation parameters is what I should be doing rather than what I've done. The one that I've done is, that's how I wired it up there, and that looks the closest. No, I could try, these two here are like for positive triggered, negative triggered wiring systems, and this one here is if you got a switch, like a central switch, like maybe inside. So I mean, I could actually try starting with that, or even like with that, cutting my kind of joined up wires off and trying a few different configurations and see if I can get one of them to work. So that's my next step, because it's definitely not working now. Got power to the unit obviously, so it's doing stuff, but just not doing anything with those, not sending a signal out to the actuators. So yeah, so I'm not really too sure, like I'm not getting a little flashing on the LED either. So I would have thought I'd at least get that to say that it's doing something, but yeah, maybe No, I don't know, like this. Yeah, the last time I did this, I was thinking about it before, like when I did my C10, it was actually an alarm system I was putting in that had a central locking output as well. So I guess that was probably a little different and to what I'm trying to do here. So yeah, that had a whole bunch of black wire in it. That was scary because every wire in it was black, and once you wired it in and took all the labels off, that was it. Everything was black. It was a nightmare, but it worked once I, it actually worked first go around, unlike this. So next up, I think I'm going to start kind of snipping some wires and maybe joining a few together and just sort of see yeah, what I can see. If not, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I haven't actually, done any cutting or welding or drilling or anything like that in the car at this point. This is why I wanted to test it on the outside. So we'll have a little poke around and see what I can figure out. Okay, so I don't know where I left off, but I've been like cutting wires and removing things and stuff like that, and nothing's changed. I did find in the instructions the actual battery code number, like the number the batteries I was supposed to get. I actually had the right battery first, but it was real loose, so I've got one of them in here now, and still didn't work. So I think they're still just 3-volt batteries. The only difference I could see was the thickness. The diameter was the same, voltage was the same, but the thickness of the actual battery was different for the remote batteries, that is, I'm talking about. Something else of note, I was just reading through this stuff here. It says, like, to clear the codes, you press and hold the learning switch for 3 seconds until the turn signal light flashes 3 times. So that's that little button down in there. So if you just press it once, that goes into learning mode, and you're supposed to just be able to push the button and that's it, learn. But it doesn't work. I've tried seeing if I'm getting voltage out here, but at those wires, and nothing out there. According to all of the diagrams, all these little wiring diagrams, these 2 wires here, the yellow and green and the black and white, are the only signal wires. The rest of them are all like jumpers and shit like that, but there is a little jumper thing here. I've tried that on the other pins, and I've tried it without on there. The only thing I haven't done is actually tried turning it sideways, so nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I'll have a crack at that. I just thought of that just now, but to do that I've got to take the little LED thing out. See, it's got like a little wee kind of jumpery thing that goes across. I'm wondering if I put it across sideways, will it blow up? At this point I don't really care, as long as it doesn't fry anything important. Nothing happening. Still just does that. Press and hold. Nothing. Try it down across the bottom. Don't want to drop it though, because if I drop it, she's gone. Anything? Nothing. So can't clear the codes. Doesn't seem to be programming the codes. Doesn't matter how I've got it wired. I've even tried like just tying the grounds together like one of the other diagrams says, and tying the these 2 that were going positive together like one of the other diagrams says. Yeah, nothing's happening. Now you're probably all sitting there going, well, you bought this junk off Wish or whatever, and that's true. To be fair, I have had quite a good run with my cheap junk from Temu and Wish and such like places. unfortunately we don't really have, whoop, that's not ground one, we don't really have a lot of sort of options, you know, like even the stuff we can buy in the shops here, it all, you know, if you can find it in the shop, it all comes from the same place anyway. Nada. So I don't think that little jumper pin thing, I need my goggles on, making any difference having it sideways in there. So I'll just put it back to its original position, and yeah, so I don't know what else I can do to make this work. The only other little box here that I haven't really experimented with is when the car originally equipped with a pneumatic central locking system, the wiring can be made on the diagram below. A pneumatic, it's like air, isn't it? When wiring per this diagram, please cut off the jumper at the main unit. Central locking time is 4 seconds. I don't know. Yeah, so that's a whole different looking scenario. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I bought some more junk by the looks of things, a little plastic box with wires and stuff. The only thing I haven't done is actually taken this little box apart, which is probably my next move. At this point I can't really hurt it anymore because it just doesn't work, so that's what I'll do. Quality control passed. I beg to differ. I don't know, do they actually test them and make sure they work, or do they just go, yeah, that looks like a goer, and just send it on out to some unsuspecting numpty down in New Zealand? I don't know what I'm expecting to see in here. If you've sort of seen me messing with electronics before, you know I have no idea what I'm looking at. Alright, it's got one of those in there. Okay, so that's the little jumper thing I was talking about before. You can put that little jumper, like a dip switch I guess, across things. I think the way it's sitting at the moment is basically just in part, but switching it over to the other side opens up another part of the circuit, but I don't know what for, to be honest. I can't see anything burnt out or particularly out of the ordinary. Oh, so it's actually got little 20 amp relays in there. Who would have thunk it? So yeah, it didn't actually need relays, which I'm glad I didn't go to all that trouble of making relays and, you know, wiring it all in, because it probably still wouldn't have worked. Yeah, I don't know. I know. Okay, so I think I've kind of tried everything I can try, other than, unless I knew how to do electronics testing and diagnostics and things like that, and it just doesn't work. So I think that's I don't know how much it cost. It was not a lot of money. The actuators work. I did test those on the battery. They do the thing. So I have now convinced myself I do actually want this to work, but this little unit I don't think is going to be the one that's going to grace the Area 51 project. So I'm glad I didn't kind of install it all and then try to figure out how to make it work. So from here I'll just kind of pull all that back out, coil up all my wire and put it all away for now, and I'll do a bit more kind of research on that, on, I don't know, maybe getting a different unit, maybe spending another $5 or $10 on one instead of, you know, what I spent. I don't know what it was now. It wasn't much, but I probably spent more on wire and those little red plug things over on the bench than I did on the central locking unit. So I'll just pack it all down. Well, that's it's it all pulled back out. You know, well, not that it was in there anyway. It was just like in a sort of temporary testing fashion. And yeah, I won't put a hammer through it just yet. I'll wait. Never know. I might have. One of you guys might be able to tell me what I did wrong with that. But I can't see it. I've been through all of those different scenarios and just couldn't get it to work. So get what you pay for, I guess. Sometimes you know, you kind of do pretty well out of like some of those websites, you know, like this, my little catch can there, that's mint, you know, that was only about $30 off Temu, I think it was. I've bought plenty of other bits and pieces and little fittings and stuff, but electronics and that's it's a bit hit and miss, to be fair. But it is what it is. Like, I understand that going into it. If I'd bought that from a local shop and had that problem with it, I would have been able to take it back. But when you're buying this stuff online and then it sits in your garage for a couple of 3-6 months and you don't do anything with it, being able to kind of return it is more hassle than it's actually worth. But yeah, so this will be a decidedly short video, but a video nonetheless for the old YouTube. No real progress, but just entertained me for the afternoon, since it was a bit of a late start anyway, because I was up the stairs there doing a bit of more DIY tiling in the bathroom. Got tiles down this morning, so I just got to do the grout and then a bit of sealant around the edges, and then that bathroom is done, and that'll be good. Then I can just move on to everything else, like painting. Lots of painting to do upstairs. It's about time. We've been in here 11 years or so. I've made an absolute shit show of this garage. It used to be a nice yuppie garage with carpet on the floor and white walls, and now I made it into my garage. But yeah, she's a bit rough. I filled it up pretty quick. Like, I need a bigger one, bigger garage. That's the thing. But yeah, so no progress. But you know, it would have been if it had been a good thing, good part. But yeah, if I buy another one, it does exactly the same thing. Then the problem is me, and not the part, which is still quite likely. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this video. As always, thanks heaps for watching. If you haven't subscribed and you're still watching at this point and you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Like, there's obviously something wrong with you. Well, you've obviously seen something interesting that you want to see more of. Not me, like this. But as far as wiring and that goes, it's pretty much done on the old Area 51 now, other than that central locking thing. But I'm gonna clean up all the wiring and clean out all the crap on the inside of the car, because it's just absolutely doing my head in. I think if I get another central locking kit, I'll be able to just pull out the stuff I need, rather than have all my stuff over there, which I need to organize now. Yeah, so that's where we're at. But anyway, as I said, thanks heaps for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Don't forget, you can get DMAC Kustoms merch. I haven't got my hat on today or any of my merch on. But go and have a look at dmaccustoms.com on the interweb. And yeah, Facebook, Instagram, the usual stuff. Till next time, take it easy and peace.